We talk a lot about events, but what about the spaces that make them possible? Welcome back to Run of Show, where we go behind the scenes of the event industry, one story at a time. Today, I'm joined by Bradley Beej Davis Jr., City Events Coordinator with Parks and Recreation here in Pensacola. While his role touches events, a lot of Beej's impact is really about the spaces themselves, our parks, our public areas, and the places where people gather every day. Because at the end of the day, the event might bring you there, but the space is what makes you stay. With a background in public relations and community involvement, he brings a unique perspective on how cities create experiences, both big and small. In this episode, we're talking about how parks and events work together, what happens behind the scenes, and the roles these spaces play in building real community. And a special thank you to this season's title sponsor, Rafaela O'Reilly, Roxy, and Crystal Soundstage Productions, your go-to for live sound, production support, and creating unforgettable experiences at your events. I appreciate you so much. Let's jump in. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I'm so excited. I know I've been trying to talk Brittany into it because she's doing all the events, but she's like, no, I don't get on camera.
She's in 4 different places at one time anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
She's a hard worker. We have a great team.
Oh yeah, I love her. And she's great as an ambassador. That's one of the things that they try to get us to do is do the interviews and do the Good Morning Pensacola. And it's a game of not me. You know?
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
So I'm glad you volunteered.
I enjoyed that part of it. I was an ambassador twice actually.
Oh, really?
I left and then came back. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty ingrained in the chamber. They do great for our area.
Oh yeah, I love being a part of the chamber.
Good.
It's my second time being part of a chamber. So, but you're not in Pensacola, right?
Yes.
You are in
I am.
Pensacola.
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Now Brittany's not in Pensacola.
Yes, we're both in Pensacola.
Okay.
We're both at City Hall.
Okay.
Yes, and now our Parks and Recreation Department obviously, expands the whole city.
Right,
We do have a field
okay.
service center, and we do have, our administrative office.
Right.
But then we also have our resource center. So we're actually pretty spread out when it comes to, the general staff of City Hall.
Now, are you from Pensacola originally?
I am, all my life.
Yeah, born and raised?
Born and raised.
Generational or just you?
My family moved here. My grandparents moved here when my father was very young, and he went to school on the west side of town, St. John's Elementary School. And my grandfather started a business here in Pensacola. And so it's a family business, and it's still, in business today. My cousin's now running it. So it's gone through that generations. Yeah.
Oh, yay. So you're born and raised. Now, did you plan to stay here, or did you try to get away at all?
That is such an excellent question. I never really thought about where I would be in the future. I just woke up every day and made the best out of that day.
Okay.
And
that's not bad.
Yeah, that's, all things
when
considered.
You're younger.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But, I was never compelled to leave. The Pensacola has been very good to my family. Mm-hmm. Incredible, friends, family here, and then just the environment. It's a little warm. I could deal with that with the warm and the humidity. Where are you from originally?
Here. Yeah,
okay,
here.
so you're all used to it.
Generational.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. But so by the time I graduated high school, I just said to myself, well, University of West Florida is a great school. And I got accepted and just kind of stuck around.
What did you go to school for?
English and then communications, organizational communications, which is funny because that's exactly what I'm doing now. And you hear all those stories about people who, they get a degree and they're not doing anything really
with
remotely
the degree
close.
They got.
But I would say this is, very, very close to that course study.
Okay. So what kind of got you into that? Because I know you're not 10 years old going, I want to be a communications person.
Exactly. Well, I've always been very social. So I've always really had a very forward-facing job. In high school, I worked at a grocery store and I did customer service. And then in college, I worked at a movie theater and then a restaurant. So I've always loved engaging with the public, with people. I just think people are great. And so I have a lot of nonprofit experience. So I saw that, which is, in any community, there's needs.
Right,
we always have needs. And I just felt like I, wanted to do some good and just wanted to, kind of to spend my time doing that. So it kind of led me to more of a nonprofit background. I've been with the American Cancer Society.
Okay.
I've been with the USO, and even with Fiesta. It's still a nonprofit. It's our heritage.
Now, what's Fiesta?
Fiesta Pensacola. It used to be Fiesta Five Flags, now Fiesta Pensacola.
Okay, right.
So they're the ones who put on the Children's Treasure Hunt, and the Fiesta Parade, and all that. Yeah.
Yes. Have you ever done a treasure hunt?
I helped plan it, but never actually did it.
You didn't participate?
No, because I get a little competitive, and
you don't want to make little kids cry.
Yeah, no, I would be terrible at the Amazing Race, just pushing people aside. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Get out of here. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So what else? What do you got going on?
Well, it took me a long time to kind of figure out, where my passions really lied. And I, was involved with the arts, and really I can't sit still. I always have to be moving and doing something. And I found out that I was drawn to organizations that helped give people a voice who didn't otherwise have one. So I've worked with Favor House, Domestic Violence Awareness. And I'm currently the president of the board of the Art Gateway, and it's an agency dedicated to improving the lives of people with developmental and intellectual disabilities.
Right, okay.
And in fact, today we just had an event called Wings for All, and Delta Airlines approached us and said, we would love to invite your clients and some caretakers to come to the airport to check in a bag, to sit and go through security. It sounds awful, right? You're like, well,
who wants to do all that?
But then to board a plane and get on a plane and then simulate the takeoff, because what happens is you have the people who have various, disabilities or on a spectrum and may not be able to. Well, heck, I struggle with being at the airport. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
So for those families who wish to travel may be apprehensive to take a loved one affected by intellectual or disabilities. So Delta came to us, and it's a nationwide program to kind of simulate that and kind of go through as a dry run to kind of give them that experience. So if a family does want to travel in the future, they kind of know what to expect with their loved one and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. Yeah, because it was way too stressful to try it and then.
Oh, absolutely right, exactly. When you're on a timeline, so we kind of simulated that today. And I say we, it was strictly the work of Delta and Pensacola Airport and the Art Gateway. Okay. So I was just a lovely viewer of everything. Yeah.
Now, as far as events go, are you normally a party planner type person, the one that wants to?
I just saw the Martha Stewart documentary.
Oh, I love her.
And it's funny because she was just always kind of there growing up. And I didn't realize she had such a legacy before that. And I identify with her a lot, and I don't know what it is. It's a double-edged sword, because I'm the kind of person who's, if you want something done, do it yourself.
Yep.
But I'm also the type of person who is willing to put in the work to make it the best it can be.
Right.
So when it comes to that thing, I can see, planning an event is not just doing sequential from A to Z. It's having all the components from A to Z, but they could swap positions at any time.
Right.
And something could come up, and you have to just anticipate that. So my brain is almost always anticipating an infinite number of combinations of events. And I don't know what that's derived from, but I just like things to be smooth sailing. I don't like unnecessary minutia. I just want someone, if they're coming to a wedding, if they're coming to a birthday party, a concert, I want them to not have to think about the process. I want them to enjoy the experience.
That's how I feel. I'm a certified wedding planner also.
Okay.
And I became a wedding planner because when I was going through the wedding process, getting married, I hired a planner. And it was not the experience that I had hoped for.
That's such a shame when you have that expectation.
Right? Yeah. But then I started to learn as I went. And then, of course, I got married, hoping that it would, I wouldn't get married again. But that's another story.
Right. That's another podcast, right?
Right.
Stick around, folks.
Podcast. Right, exactly. But yeah, I went through all that and I learned so much. I was like, gosh, I could do a better job than the person I hired, and I learned, I was like, well, let me turn this into something. And so I went through Weddings Beautiful Worldwide and did that whole thing. And so.
And you make such a good point too, because every time you do it, you get better and better.
Right.
And so I think I had just planned, and with nonprofit, you are planning lots of events. Right. You're doing your fundraisers, and I've planned everything from your $5 donation Relay for Life event or a $5,000 table gala.
Right.
And so there's varying levels of that. And it's really, again, it's that very forward facing, it's that community approach, really knowing who your audience is.
Right. Yeah.
And managing those expectations.
Now, see, are you out and about a lot? Because one of the things I've learned about nonprofits, of course, they're always asking for donations.
Right. Yes.
They always need help. And there's a lot of companies out there who are giving anyway. Mm-hmm. And so it's a matter of relations. Right. So, yes. If they're going to be giving anyway, they're going to give to the people that they know. Right.
True,
and they say they want to support them. So yes. Are you the type of person that you're out and about handshaking all the time and getting to know people? Yeah,
I am. And living here in Pensacola, it's helpful. We're a medium, small, largish,
right, yeah.
community. It is unique. So my having lived here, and there's really just the same kind of donor pool too. And right. It's, there's a finite number of dollars. Mm-hmm. So when people come to me and say, I want to be involved, I want to do something. Mm-hmm. And so my first question is, what do you love? Do you love animals? Have you been affected by someone who's had cancer? Do you have a member of the military in your family? Because there's a cause for everything.
Right.
And I think this first step is to pair yourself with a cause that you're passionate about.
Right.
And so when it's a business, donating for whatever cause, mm-hmm. there's usually a connection. And there may be the CEO had, had some kind of heart disease. And so they're going to, support the Heart Association or something similar. But we have a huge military community, so we have mm-hmm. lots of organizations doing, 5K runs, which is something that the military so it's just finding that passion is the number one thing.
Right. Now, what sparked your passion for Parks and Recreation?
It was really just, first I love being outside. I love just being outside. I think, the city we have 95 parks.
95 parks.
95 parks, yes. So there's really no excuse not to find a beautiful outdoor space. And I joke that, when that weather gets nice, when you want to be outside is when everyone wants to be outside. Right. And I love being a purveyor of our beautiful spaces. Mm-hmm. And I love it when people come and say, we want to renew our wedding vows, or we want to have a birthday party, or, whatever the case is, an arts festival.
Right.
It's been going on for, 60 years. Mm-hmm. And I love being able to be a part of that because it all comes back to the community. It's things that benefit the entire community.
Yeah. So tell me, what is your role exactly?
I am the city events coordinator.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily plan any events, but our department, we process the special event applications, park rentals, and I joke with people, I make sure that 2 5Ks don't run into each other.
Right.
So we have a very staunch view of security and safety for all of our large-scale events. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've watched the news, but with our last parade, we actually have an incident command center where the police, fire, EMS, Public Works, myself, we all sit in a room together and we monitor the parade off site. Yeah. And we coordinate, injuries and make sure that we have drone footage that we're monitoring the parade. And, we're looking for choke points in the parade. That's something we can improve on next year. Mm-hmm. And so our city has a very, very staunch and very robust view of safety and security. Because again, if you're calling 100,000 people from the community to come see a parade, we want to make sure that you're safe.
So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people just don't even know, which is good in a way because they're having a good time. They don't have to worry about it. You do.
And I love being a part of that. I love being a part of the finished product. I don't need any recognition for it. Like I tell people, I just push paper around. And I've got a great support with my assistant. She's an event specialist. I don't like to call her an assistant because she does. I tell her, she says, you can do everything I can do.
Right.
And she's an extension of what we do in that office. And she's great. But the whole team I feel very supported.
Right. How many people on your team?
Well, it's really just myself and the event specialist. Okay. And before it was just kind of me doing everything. And we've seen a consistent influx of people wanting to have events. And because I'm pushing people to have events. I'm introducing people to these parks and say, you could do this here and do this here. And people say, I could. And I like that feeling.
Do you have a favorite park?
Oh, I can't say that. I can't say. I love them all the same, but
that's what I tell my kids. Yeah,
I love Bruce Beach. It's one of our newer parks.
I just discovered that. Isn't that crazy? You can live somewhere for for so long and not really.
Well, in your defense, it's really been there for a couple of years.
Right. Okay.
So that whole area has been, underutilized or not utilized for a long time. And it had gone back and forth about what this community wanted to do. And we landed on this park to commemorate such a vibrant community of that west side and how it has shaped Pensacola over time. I mean, so when ships started coming here, the sailors, that's where the shipmen would come off and swim in the water right here. And then fast forward to, that was the Tanyards district. So, you've got the Tanyards and in that community there, working class, but there's such a sense of community there. And that's part of our Strive 2035 initiative is really to connect these communities, connect these neighborhoods together. Yeah. Because I feel Pensacola really is the sum of all of its parts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I tell you, that Bruce Beej, I'm really impressed by it. I really am. I went down, I was like, oh, I didn't know this was here. I was like, this is so great. Yep. Are there other parks that you think that are really great like that?
Seville Square is beautiful. I mean, just imagine, the first crisp fall day in October or November. And, October is a very busy season. So an arts festival is always the first full weekend of November. So just imagine getting up on a Saturday morning and, having your brunch and then just wandering downtown. And there's so many people just now downtown. And, you've got the sights and the smells and the people and just the energy of really, well, personally, I love the self-expression. I love the artistry of it. I love that people can come and say, this is what I'm good at. Please enjoy this. Right. And then the community comes together and enjoys it together, along with some really good food and entertainment.
We're all about food here.
Yep,
food,
definitely.
Festivals. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was visiting a friend in Austin and he was taking me around. He's like, one of the cool things about Austin, right? And he was just from Pensacola and just like, I'm never going back to Pensacola. I was like, what? Kind of offended. But then I came home and I started looking around and I was like, he's crazy. We have so many awesome things here, like the murals that go around all downtown. And it's really great, and we don't need to be a big city like Austin.
I have friends and that's actually my bucket list. I've never been to Austin. I hear it's grown so fast that now like the infrastructure, like the traffic is kind of bad. And I hate traffic. I'm kind of spoiled around here. You can get to anywhere in 20 minutes. Right. But I just totally lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about? I was thinking about traffic. Yeah. I have friends who I went to high school with who they were out. As soon as we graduated, they're like, they're gone. They're like, I'm going to go to Atlanta or I'm going to the West Coast. Well, they come back to visit because they have family here. And they say, had Pensacola been as vibrant and active when we graduated, they never would have left.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And I kind of reflect on that and say, well, I kind of stuck around here and helped facilitate that. And obviously it takes much more than just one person, but I will say I love being a part of that and what makes a community. And when I sign the permits, I say thank you. I say thank you for choosing the city to have to use one of our spaces, because it's your space. I say it's our space, but it's the city's, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Now, so you've got a bunch of events coming up. You always have events,
yes.
And so you have a full calendar. We can find all that out on the website.
Well, I will say that this is kind of tricky. We there have been so many initiatives to figure out like a centralized calendar because so many people are doing so many great things. What we suggest is go to Visit Pensacola.
Right, I've been hearing a lot about them.
We have an amazing relationship with them, and anything that is being done by an organizer. So that's the thing, is that 99% of our events that the city has, they're put on by other organizations. Right. So they're going to be the ones who are going to promote those. Right. We don't necessarily want to get in the business of promoting any specific event. Right. So we make sure that there's a mechanism to find that information, though. Right. It's not to say, well, we're not going to hold a calendar because it's too difficult for us. Right. We're going to say, you know what? We're going to make sure that this agency, like Visit Pensacola, who are experts at this, make sure that you know where to go and what to do for the weekend. Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the struggles that you've had when organizing the calendar for all these things? So it's a lot. It is. Just not having enough beautiful days in Pensacola, just with any community, some have harsh winters, some have harsh summers. During the summertime, our events are, very scaled back. Not a lot of people like to be outside, obviously, but I'm telling you what, they make up for it in that last quarter, with the cool weather. Yeah. But I'd say a challenge would be, other than just, needing more days, is just telling people to get that paperwork in as soon as possible. Right. Because we do have so much. And the permitting process goes through a lot of different departments. The police have to sign off on it. Fire has to to sign off on it. EMS, public works, parking, risk management. Yeah, so it needs to circulate. Well, all those fine folks have lots of other things they're doing too. So I like to give them plenty of opportunity to really take a look at that application, make sure that we have enough, EMS teams for a large event in case something happens, heaven forbid. But I guess that would be the challenge is, which is we all do it. We usually
wait till the last minute.
If you want something done, give it to a busy person. And paperwork is usually the last thing anyone really wants to do. So I understand that, and so that's why I said we have a great team that will walk you through and get you that, because our paperwork, our permit is just with anyone is to keep everyone on the same page.
Right.
And we want to make sure that you can enjoy your space and your activity worry free.
Right. And again, that goes to, you just don't know how much goes into planning it.
Yep.
So for some of the larger events like the Arts Festival, that's an annual event. So that's a little bit easier, right?
It just depends on what, the reason why it's easier is that their committee, they have probably about 40 committees strong, 40 to 50. Wow. It is an army. Yeah. And that group is such a well-oiled machine because they just utilize a lot of best practices. Succession. They make sure that there's always someone coming up to take care of the food or to take care of the entertainment or to take care of the beautification or to take care of the logistics. Right. And so that's really the key, is to have, again, just a great team putting it together. And I actually sit on that committee as kind of a liaison, because you have lots of real-time questions to come up. Hey, can we do this? Can we do this? And normally I might be able to answer it, but I always come to them to make sure that they're informed.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Run of Show. And a special thank you again to this season's title sponsor, Roxy. Her band, Password Reset, and her company, Crystal Soundstage Productions, is the team you can count on for live sound, production support, and creating unforgettable experiences at your events. You can find Run of Show on all of your favorite podcast platforms, so please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. It truly helps the show grow. Now, let's get back to our conversation with Beej. So one of the fun things that Brittany was telling me about is now there's Parker and Rex.
Tell
me about that.
Okay, listen, and I'll tell you too. I cannot believe I'm just admitting this to the world. Is that I didn't understand it at first. I didn't get the joke at first.
Oh, you didn't?
I did, and I was like, well, those are cool names. That's cute. And then it kind of evolved, and then I was like, oh, Parks and Rec. Yeah. So yes, and I love anything that has to do with giving us visibility. Yeah. And, obviously, we have lots of youth who participate and utilize our spaces. So anything to do that we can engage every segment of our community is great. So yeah, and I just think they're hysterical. Those, the little arms. And all that, so we'll have to do a cutaway. You have to show the folks, what it is, the dinosaurs. So.
Yes, it's so cute. Those inflatable things. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Now, so what kind of new things do you have coming up?
So there was an event called Blues on the Bay, and that was sponsored by Blues Angel Music.
Right, I know Nan.
Yeah, Nan Wonderful, and I actually was working there before I went to work for the city. Oh, okay. Well, just for a number of reasons, they were unable to continue that series, so the city's kind of stepped in to say, well, that was definitely a very well-attended event. Mm-hmm. It was very well received by the community. I mean, who doesn't love to bring your chair out on a Sunday afternoon, with your cooler, your picnic and your kids, and just, listen to some free music. So we found that was a need. So we're kind of stepping in to fill that a little bit. We work with other organizations that we may be able to tag on an event like that. Right. It's a partnership. So, and then we do the movies in the park.
Right.
And
so those are the Wahoo Stadium, is that right?
That is correct. The amphitheater right behind the Wahoo.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. What is that called? It's called the...
So the whole complex is called the Community Maritime Park.
Right. Okay.
And the Blue Wahoos, the stadium is right smack dab in the middle.
Right.
They essentially lease that space from the city. I mean, we all work together as partners. Mm-hmm. So the city manages the spaces around it. So you've got festival grounds, which is just kind of a nice green area with some pathways. We have the amphitheater, which is, the concerts and the greens. Fireworks, all that, yes. Yeah. And so those are typically where a lot of our events are held. And the movies in the park and the concerts, that's going to be at the amphitheater.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question, because I'm not a big fan. But they're having these new complexes that they're building on either side of the Wahoo Stadium. Mm-hmm. How's that going to change the events that
we will
happen there.
see. We will see. You know,
What the footprint is.
Yeah, but I think that's a bigger conversation with, you know, that is automatically more people to come and enjoy our events.
Right.
You know, it just really depends on how you look at it.
Right.
Obviously, it'll change the footprint a little bit, but again, we have a great working relationship with the Blue Wahoos. I've got great support with every department of the city, and we'll just figure it out. Yeah. You know, I've double booked parks before, and we just figure it out.
Oh yeah.
That is my biggest fear. That used to, when I would first got this job, I would just lay awake at night and say, I think the worst thing would be to double book, because, you know, how do you address that? You have two people who want to have a special occasion, and we got to figure that out. So again, that's just, and that I feel like I've let people down because it's, again, it goes against my values of, you know, having an event unimpeded. Let's just keep this as simple as possible. But no, we figure it out, and I'm excited about the general growth, because we are seeing it, and those types of things I think are just typical growing pains for any growing community.
Oh, it's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, so I hope I answered. I didn't want to like skate around your issue, but I think
it's a very large issue. It made me think when we were talking about the park, because I've seen some renderings for it, and I'm not a fan.
Well, and I will tell you this too, just having lived in Pensacola too, you've got to wait for that finished project as well, because sometimes, you know, it may be scaled back a little bit, it'll change. I mean, just for instance, Baptist Hospital, when they were building their new hospital, it was in the middle of COVID. So they actually were at a point where they could change the plans to redesign the hospital to, in the future, to take in pandemics. And then so it's very interesting. So I like that approach. It's just, you kind of have to meld and mold to your environment. And we have too much of a beautiful space around there to let a couple of hotels get in our way. But we'll see how that all looks.
We'll see. We'll get back to that. Well, speaking of the hospital, I've unfortunately had to be there a few times last year and this year. But one of the things I enjoyed was looking out the window and that little park area that they have there, and all the trees, and they're lit up. I mean, it makes it a little bit softer. It gives a softness to the hospital. If you have to be there, at least you can see this, or you can maybe take a minute to step outside and walk amongst the trees. I just love that area.
I agree. And I think that I love a community that embraces its outdoor spaces, especially when the weather's nice. And I'm a huge advocate for things like that.
How do you deal with the humidity around here?
I don't.
Tell you.
I hate it. I complain. I moan about it just like everybody else. You know, it's okay. It's sometimes you just have to know you're just relegated to going out and sweating and stuff. If it's for the sake of putting on an event, and you know, we do have water slides too that we have some of our events, so maybe I'll jump on one of those.
Oh, and then they have at the Palafox Pier. They have the water.
The splash pad, that sure do. And then we also at Legion Field it's on Gregory and G Street. That's over the Theophilus May Center. We'll go a little splash pad over there. We've got lots of events. It's one of our sports complexes, that and Hitzman Field. And I mean, telling you what, there's barely a weekend where there aren't kids descended upon it doing football or baseball or soccer or whatever. Again, I love that we can get out there. I mean, not just for the health aspect, you know, for healthy, you know, being outdoors, I think has tremendous benefits for that. But I just think therapeutically, just being outside is just really great for everybody.
Now, as far as parks, we were talking a lot about stuff in the Pensacola area. Are there parks like at the beach and stuff? Is that a separate?
It is separate, although I will say too, we've got a great working relationship with the folks at the Island Authority. I remember one time I had a woman call, it was right before New Year's. And I was, you know, I work between, you know, we were working all the time, but I was in that office, it was quiet. And this woman called and she wanted to verify a spot that she had rented or needed for her wedding. And I could just hear paper shuffling. And I just thought to myself, bless her heart. She's probably a bride who works full time, probably planning her own wedding. And who wants to call a city? Who wants to call a municipality? Nobody does. So I try to take the sting out of it a little bit and really just sit and listen to her. And I said, you know what? She's like, well, someone gave me this number and I got this number, and you know, and I have no patience for the runaround. And I said, you know what? I said, the next phone call you're going to get is from me. with the phone number that the individual that you need. So I hung up and I just started making phone calls. And I was able to call the Island Authority, and they gave me the number to the National Seashore, which then, so I just like to figure it out. And that's a benefit for having lived here, is that you just kind of know, you just kind of pick up on those things.
Yeah. I always say Pensacola is a big little town.
Yeah, that's a good way.
And there's people here of 6 degrees of separation. There's not. There's 2.
I say we're all Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
We are all 6 degrees from somebody else. That is it.
Yep, so, absolutely. I say that all the time. I said, if you don't know them, somebody you know knows them.
Exactly.
And that's it. And then you were talking about how things have changed downtown, because I'm from here too. I remember 30 years ago, downtown, the sidewalks rolled up at 8 o'clock. And now any night of
barely.
the week,
I mean, 5 o'clock on Fridays.
Yeah,
you're right. And it's funny you mentioned that, because we just had our Mardi Gras parade here. And that parade route was designed about 25 years ago for that exact purpose, to bring activity and life and vibrancy to downtown, because there was none. Well, fast forward 25 years, and you actually now have business owners on Palafox saying, why is the parade still here? Now it's kind of disruptive. And, that's an excellent problem to have, because again, we just go back to the drawing board and go back and talk to the organizers. We talk to police department, we talk to fire, and say, what do you all think about this? And of course, we obviously gauge the community and get their feedback too. But but you're right. So this now it's almost a nuisance to have a parade downtown, because it's so busy down there.
You're right. Talk about downtown though. Has the construction affected at all? Because Palafox and Garden.
Correct. Yes. And again, we just working for a city, you just need to learn to pivot, and especially be doing events. There's really nothing that's too big or too small that we can't figure it out together.
Right.
And of course there were challenges. We did have to move the parade route. We moved it a block east to Jefferson Street. And we have received some phenomenal feedback on that.
They liked it? I didn't go.
That's okay. Well, you were good. And from the participants, from the crew members, from the businesses, from the organizers, everyone received some really good feedback. So we're looking at all of that. Again, lots of things can change, because as Maya Angelou said, when you know better, do better.
Right.
So sometimes it takes an instance like a construction. But personally, having lived here, I love to see that transformation, and I love the walkability, and that's what we're getting back to, the turn of the century, when, you live next to your baker, your candlestick maker and your butcher. But now, then after World War II, the suburbs, everyone wanted to spread out. So they put them all out in the suburbs. And then after a while it said, well, we have nowhere to shop. We have nowhere to go. So they started there. And then everyone just vanished from a downtown, from that city center.
Right.
And there's really a concerted effort to get everyone back down there. And to do that, you have to have walkability. If you want people to be walking around, you got to have a place for them to walk.
Right.
And I love that a lot of big cities are doing that. I can't remember the street in Denver, but they've done that. They've just completely shut off their main street. And the way to get up and down is just a trolley. So if you want to get up, you just hop on the trolley and it takes you up and it comes back down. That's awesome. Otherwise, you're just kind of meandering about. And I believe, I think it's from, Ferris Bueller, if you don't slow down in life, you're going to miss some things.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Slow down.
Yeah.
This is definitely a place you can slow down. Do you have one particular event that you're looking forward to?
Oh, I can't say that either. That's like saying a favorite part. Anything that's in cooler weather. I do want to give you a good answer. I do love our arts festival. I do, because it's such an institution here. The people who were involved with the execution of it are just fine individuals. They are, members of our community. So we have people who work for, the local news station. So we know that we're going to get some good press on it. We have someone who used to work for the city. So we know we've got someone really good on logistics. And so I just efficient. I think that's just selfishly, I see how efficient it is. And that's why I like it, because I see both sides of it. But the finished product, and that is because the committee is always very happy with the outcome. I love it when the organizers are happy with what they've done. Right.
That is good. And I love that event too. What I love about that event is that, they're selling art, but their booths themselves, the booths that they have, their tents, they are art in themselves. I feel like I'm walking into an exhibit every time I go into a tent. I'm like, oh, This is great.
And it's so cool to have, a blank palette to do that, an open space. And, now you set up your walls and how you ever want to do it.
Absolutely. So tell us, what are your best tips and tricks for having a great event?
Is that you can never plan too early. You can never start planning too early. That is tied with just making sure you have great people with you. You've got to have, it's not just warm bodies. Right. And proper people placement prevents problems.
I love that.
Yep. It's very easy to remember. So yes, just get somebody again, because if you find someone who's passionate about a cause, do you give them marching orders and they're going to do anything you need them to do?
Right. Absolutely.
So it's having that leadership, but that leader also needs to be part of that team and be willing to do something that may not be desirable, maybe take out the trash.
Right.
And also read off an agenda and preside over a meeting. Right. You've all just got to be prepared to do it all.
Now, if someone has questions about Parks and Recreation, what was the best way to get a hold of you or the department?
You can just call, go to our web. I would suggest go to our website, playpensacola.com.
Okay.
And we're also just under the Parks and Rec department on the cityofpensacola.com. Okay. And there are various numbers. So if you need a resource center, Bayview Center, Sanders Beach, those have their own contact information. Right. Special events will have those. And then it will also list the parks, because we encourage organizers or someone wanting to have an event to do a little bit of research, because we've got so many parks. And people say, well, I want to have a party. Well, what kind of party do you want? Is it a birthday party? Are we having ponies? Are we having are we having a slide? Are we so I always tell people, you give me your wish list, and then we'll find that space for that.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. And now you said there's 95 parks.
95 parks. Correct.
Parks. And are they all listed?
Yes.
Because I was thinking I would love to print that out, and because I have one granddaughter, and I would love to just as an adventure just start checking them off. The list.
We've got maps too. If you go to our maps GIS section. You can do layers of what you want, and we do have one where we have all the parks. I've actually thought about doing this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because it's going to be documented forever, but I want to start at one park, and not all at one time, obviously, but walk to every single park. Oh, right. And you can do it. It's so easy. Yeah. And, because inch by inch, life is a cinch. So, if you just do a few parks at a time, I'm kind of excited about that. I think I'm going to just start that and show people that it is, that the takeaway from that is going to be that our parks are accessible. Right.
You could start a whole YouTube channel on that, a TikTok.
Monetize all of it. I got to get with you because this beautiful setup, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It's work in progress. That's how and people that are passionate about something, share it with the world so we can enjoy, life from your vantage point. Let's share the passion. I absolutely love it.
Definitely.
Okay, so what words of wisdom would you like to leave our listeners with?
Oh, gosh. Lots, but pertaining to Parks and Rec is that this is your community. So when we encourage we really encourage folks to use, the community in which they live. I mean, just aside from paying taxes and everything for it, we want you to enjoy that. That's why they're there. Yeah. So, if you see something going on in an event, wander on over and see what's going on. If it's a closed event, they'll tell you. Right. But generally speaking, that's how people, I hear so many times people will just come across an event. They're going to another event, and then we have two other events going on downtown. And I love the word synergy. I love it when that synergy is created. So my words of advice would be just utilize your community assets.
Right. Get outside and play.
Get outside
and play. Awesome. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did too. Thank you so much for inviting us there.